Chapter 12. We shoved the Texans and a badly wounded harbinger in the cargo hold of the ship. We hadn't even looked in the hold to see what else might be in there, and now we did look. We opened the door and Aileron and Arbron stood to share his ring in case the starting Texans tried to attack us, but the two had other things on their minds. They were attempting to kill and eat each other. We finished off the wounded harbinger. "Stop it or I'll kill you both," they yelled. But Titans are control caught in their evil bloodlust, a vile thing to watch. Texans don't have powerful tails or blades like the harbinger. They can only reel up and slant over bodies against each other trying to gouge with their round mouths. The Yeerks have left, Aileron said. "That's how Texans behave when not controllers. Your peers let them destroy each other." "Where'd the Yeerks go?" I asked. Aileron calmly leveled a shredder at the Texans and fired. A little blast enough to knock them both unconscious. We stepped past the sagging bodies, careful to keep our hooves out of the gore. Behind them, the whole ship was full of transparent circular tanks. It's too hard to see what was inside. "Computer, lights," Aileron said. The lights came on and instantly wished they hadn't. The whole ship stretched for perhaps 100 feet back, with a width of that third of that. Filling most of that space was a sludgy green were dozens of tanks, and each one swimming with vicious liquid were gray slugs. "Yeerks," I said. "There must be thousands." "Tens of thousands," Oberon said. "I expect that may be the case," Aileron said. "There are Yeerks being transported to Taxon world. Perhaps here get bodies, hosts, each will be given a Taxon." "What do we do with them?" I asked. "We seal the bridge and open the outer hatch," Aileron said calmly. A few seconds I realized what he was saying. If you open the outer hatch, they'd be in space. The vacuum would suck everything in the hold out in the airless void. The Yeerks would die almost instantly. "Prince Aileron, we can't just kill them all," I said. "Look closely to see if maybe you've been joking." His eyes were cold. "Our Shelvengor, I give the orders. You obey the orders." "But they're helpless," I protested. "They're Yeerks and this is war. Would you rather wait till they attack some bodies?" I didn't know what to say. I looked at Aileron. He kept his face carefully expressionless. We can't do this. It's wrong. They're prisoners. We can't be murder." "Be careful of what you accuse me of, Shelvengor," Aileron said harshly. "You're a child, so I forgive your impertinence. This time. But you're here to learn, not question orders. And one thing you'll learn, my idealistic Arch, is that war is not about striking brave poses and playing the hero. War is about killing." "Andalites do not kill prisoners," I said. He laughed. "Is that what they taught you in school?" He laughed again. "Well, child, I learned my lessons in the Battle of Harbinger homeworld, not in a classroom. And let me tell you, the only thing that matters is staying alive." "Besides, little Shelvengor, it's a bit late for you to get delicate, not now with the blood of your enemies staining your tail." This wasn't happening, it couldn't be. Aileron was a war prince. I can't disobey him, but this was monstrous. "I won't kill prisoners, not even Yeerks. I could execute you right now for disobeying me." For a moment it seemed to stretch on and on. We stood there facing each other. I could barely breathe. I was risking my life, probably destroy my future military just to save my enemies. It was insane, but I couldn't imagine myself seeing Yeerks flying off in the vacuum of space. I just couldn't do it. "Sir," Oberon said tenderly, "we're so close to planet Service, the Yeerk sentence might pick up the heat signature of 1,000 Yeerks being flushed into space, and they would investigate." It was true, maybe, but it would be enough to make him back off. "Well, he wouldn't want that," Aileron said sarcastically. "We'll wait till we complete our mission into service, but then if the leader system will clean out this filth." I breathed again while influencing myself. I made an enemy of Prince Aileron. I wasn't sure I could count on Oberon either. Time to acquire tactics that meets with Shelvengor's high moral code. I turned away and walked on a stunned tact, and I hesitated to place my hand on one of their slimy flesh. Over to now to that person absorb DNA of any creature he touches. It takes concentration and focus because the bioenergy morphing is triggered by thought commands. Focus, put everything outside your mind and the taxon become part of you. And as I stood there, Taxon's DNA migrated into me. My life had gone rapidly downhill at shocking speed, so I get much worse. And when the skeptical eyes of Prince Aileron and a frightened stare of Oberon upon me, I began to morph. Chapter 13. As an Andalite Orange, I've been trained in morphing. Back at basic training, they first transformed us with morphing technology. They've given us a Dijabala to acquire morph. It's a small 6-legged animal, maybe a third the size of a young Andalite. It had a mouth and a tail and no natural weapons. It could live by climbing trees and eating the highest leaves. You have to morph that in order to pass the room proficiency test, so I did. But like a lot of archers, I even morphed to the craft bird as well. I'd heard of some planets and many types of bird, but we only have the 3, and since Commander Best species, the 3 is popular young cadets looking for fun. It's a wonderful experience. I always loved the idea of flying, but of course, morphing for pleasure is discouraged, so I only did it the one time. That was all morphing I'd done. A Dijabala and a crafted bird. I never even dreamed of morphing a Taxon. Taxons are a nauseating species, and you've seen holograms of them, but trust me, until you come up close to them, you don't know how awful they are. The smell alone is enough to make you sick. But now I had no choice. I had to show Aileron I was still a good soldier. I had to prove I was brave no matter what he thought of me. I wouldn't show any hesitation. So I focused on becoming a Taxon. The changes began immediately. My upper torso began to melt down to my lower body. Watch my blue and tan fur cease becoming individual hairs and melt into a plastic-like covering. The bare flesh of my upper body did the same thing, turning hard and shiny. I felt so falling as my legs shrank. They seemed to get stuck to my body way too quickly. My stomach hit the deck so hard it knocked the air out of me, almost as quickly as it lifted back up off the deck. Almost as quickly, I was lifted back up on deck. Dozens of short cones sprang from my belly. I was growing Taxon legs. I looked backward toward my stock eye, so my body was stretching out behind me. I was rapidly becoming a fat worm, 10 feet of rippling slimy segments rolling backward and engulfing my tail. It also made a sound like wet cloth, being dragged over gravel. I could hear my internal organs dissolving, squishing, slippery noises. I could hear organs didn't even have a name or taking their place, and now I was blind. My eyes all went blind at once I couldn't see. I felt fear growing within me, fear of threatening to become a panic. I was blind. Muddy at first, and sure my sight slowly returned, but it didn't make me feel better. It was an eerie, distorted, broken world I saw. Titans have compound eyes, each were goggle eyes with 1,000 smaller eyeballs, each taking its own tiny picture of the world. Everything I saw around me was shattered into a million small frames. It was overwhelming. I felt something new, a new sense. I moved up from my muscles, realized to operate my mouth, a round red mouth, and for a mouth that had a deluge of sensory input, like smell. It's not nearly experience, so it's called the sense of taste, I believe. And when I tasted, what I smelled, and my senses care about was the bright smell of blood. I never even felt their instincts well being my own troubled and battered mind. I had no warning. All at once attacked in my head. And how do I even convey the horror? Have I felt some awful, evil urge, some furtive thought you quickly snuffed out? Was I fully became Taxon, I felt such a feeling, not some faint whisper thought, but a raging, screaming hunger. A hunger for anything living, a hunger for anything with a beating heart. My shattered Taxon eyes saw 2 Andalites, my own people. I wanted to devour them, but Taxons are not fools. The Taxon brain saw and understood Andalite tales, knew there were weapons, knew I couldn't fight them, and that weakness gave rise to a rage like a nuclear fire in me. I was hungry, like no other creature I could ever know. I was started to restart my own identity, understood why Taxons made their allegiance with the Yeerks. The Yeerks had weapons to use to feed flesh, warm flesh to the raging Taxon hunger. They go to freedom, but freedom is nothing to a Taxon compared to that hunger. How are you doing, Elfangori asked me. Fine, I lied, only... What? When you morph, be careful, be strong, you have to fight the hunger. Alberon laughed. What, are you afraid I'm gonna morph and try to eat you? Yes, Alberon, I am afraid. And he should be. Chapter 14. The hunger never went away even as he sprouted down to the Taxon homeworld. I felt it. I was thankful Lauren was safe on a Jahar. I didn't know if I could have resisted the Taxon's appetite. I really don't know. As we came in for a landing, ground control appeared on the screens to demand our clearance. Our ship's computer responded automatically. Ground control told us they were backed up on uploading cargo. We have a day for we could unload Yeerks in their hold. I didn't know how to feel about that. I didn't want thousands of Yeerks to make a safely destination, but I didn't want to slaughter them either. I no doubt if we got away from on the Yeerk ship, Alron meant to kill them. The spaceport was in a large facility, obviously still under construction. We came in low for a landing, descending through orange and green acid clouds. We could see dozens of our ships resting in their cradles on the ground. Hundreds of Taxons and Gezian Harbinger were busy building, adding new capacity. But even amongst all the activity, we could spot the Skritna rare ship. That was our target. If we time it right. If we were right, the time major should be aboard that ship. A landing beam guided us to the cradle on the far edge of the facility. We're more than a mile away from the Skritna ship. A mile isn't much in space, but on ground, enemy plant in the body makes you want to scream. It's a very long distance. Whatever you do, remember what you are, all instructed. Your Taxon's on a Taxon plant. Act like it. The 3 of us in Taxon morph exit out a hatch in the air of the Taxon homeworld. The first thing I noticed the sky was a pale gray-brown, the color of dust. The bright clouds are too high up to ever even be seen. The second I noticed the smell. Everywhere warm, beating hearts were... everywhere warm, living hearts were beating. Harbinger hearts, Ged hearts, Taxon hearts, blood rushed through veins. The spaceport was a vast array of ship cradles in a dozen different sizes and shapes. Some were taller and 10 tall trees, some lay almost flat and rising just a few from the dirt. Some were empty, but most held ships. There were slow transports unloading cargo, fires and for repairs, even gigantic Yeerk pool. I couldn't see the 3 spire legs of the Yeerk pool towering over the cradle. There were shredder burns and one of the legs was shattered. The ship had been in a battle. Below the maze of cradles was a bare orange-red dirt, not a blade of grass, just dirt. There were printed magnetic levitation reels running through the massive bars of cradles. Train cars, some open, some closed bubbles, raced back and forth on the tracks. Cargo was being unloaded into train cars by Geds. They're the Yeerk's first victim, the first race they enslaved. Geds all seem to walk on 2 legs like humans, actually always hunched over so they can keep one hand on the ground for balance. We took an open elevator from the cradle down to the ground as we ascended. I counted 2 ships landing and 1 taking off. The maglev train zipped back and forth the dizzying array of tracks. On the ground, big track vehicles moved heavier loads. Everywhere were Taxons, swaggering Harbinger and busy clumsy Geds. Each was a controller, a slave to the Yeerk in their head. It was a huge, raucous, and noisy place full of steel and dust and smells of solvents and Taxon filth. Busy, Alron muttered. Awfully busy. I knew what he meant. Back home they told us the Yeerks were stopped by our forces. The average Andalite simply thought we were beating the Yeerks, but his spaceport was evidence to the contrary. This spaceport just one of several was alive with hurried activity. And suddenly, I looked up just in time to see his Taxon slip from one of the maglev train track overhead. He hit the ground like a bag of goo. His knee legs crumpled and his worm body split open. His pandemonium Taxons came rushing on all sides. Woof! A big Taxon slammed into me, practically knocked me over. More of them all rushing came over to their fallen friend, but they were not rushing to help. They were rushing to eat this still living Taxon. Then I felt the hunger, slowed me up and I couldn't resist as I moved forward, jostling getting over screaming worm myself, rushing, pushing, shoving, desperate to reach him, and no! I felt my mind snap back into surface. I'd been overwhelmed by their instincts, but even now, even on willpower, I couldn't resist, so being drawn like a magnet, like being sucked into a black hole. The smell of the wounded Taxon, the fervent beam of its heart, no! I was there. I was looking at the injured Taxon with my shattered compound eyes, a plunge of my upper body downward, mouth open, teeth gnashing, ready to... No. I pulled back, but the power of the hunger would not release me. I moved my dozens of cone legs pulling back near eager Taxons pushed me aside, heedless. Where were Aubrey and Alaron? I lost in my mad rush to feed. I pulled back and back further, reached up like moving 1,000,000 pounds, and yet I did move away. The feeding frenzy became ever more nightmarish. Taxons crawled over to try to get to the fresh meat. I managed to turn my huge long worm body around and ran from it. I ran as fast as Taxon limbs would carry me. I found a shade spot under the towering ship cradles and I cowered to use my strength to resist. Finally, after a while, the frenzy passed. Not because I'd grown strong, simply because I could now smell there was no more meat left. The Taxon horde broke up and slithered off in various directions back to work. Where was Arbron? Where was Prince Alaran? I was lost and alone in the Taxon world. All I could think of doing was heading to the Skritna's ship. Hopefully my two fellow Andalites would be there. I didn't myself we had a mission, the Time Matrix. The Earth realized that it was on the ship. There would be no hope at all. Now the image was fresh as a harbinger coming toward me, 6 or 7 moving swiftly, surrounding me. There's nothing I could do. I couldn't run. A 10-foot-long worm does not run a harbinger. One of them swaggered up to me, a signal from him. The other was a level Drake on me straight at me. Not that they needed them. A harbinger could slice a Taxon to ribbons in seconds, and I'd seen what happened to any Taxon carrier not to be injured. Welcome to the Taxon homeworld, the Harbinger said. I am Subvisor 7. You interest me, yes indeed. I'm very interested in a Taxon who will not eat fresh meat. Yep. Gotta be pretty hard to spy around here with that sort of issue. Chapter 15. Morphing power is a wonderful tool, allows analysts to pass on many different species, makes the greatest spies in the galaxy, but has an awful drawback. If you stay more than 2 hours in the morph, you stay forever. You become a nothit, an analyte living in his life in a different body. That's my greatest fears. Harbinger controllers led me to a maglev train car. The subvisor commandeered the train car. He ordered everyone else off. I stood there helpless, surrounded by a maglev car shot away from the platform. It wound its way through a maze of ship cradles. Your construction workers are busy building up the might of the York Empire. Your subvisor said nothing. He seemed almost bored. He slouched his Harbinger body and watched the passing sights gloomily. I watched him as well as I could with my Taxon eyes. A subvisor was a high rank. I learned from basic train classes where he taught out the York foe. On top of the York Empire was a Council 13. One of them was the Emperor, no one knows which one. It was a closely guarded secret as the York's fear assassination. Just below the council are the Visors, the generals of the York military. They're numbered according to power and importance. Visor 1 would be the most powerful, down to Visor 40 or so. A subvisor is like a colonel. Very powerful, especially if it's a low number like 7, but not a Visor yet. He spoke, So, Andalites, how long have you been in this morph? I saw someone crying aloud. He knew as an Andalite. No, maybe he didn't. Maybe he was trying to trick me. I didn't know what it meant. The Taxon body had Taxon instincts, so not Taxon's life learning, so I couldn't speak their language. But maybe he couldn't either. If he'd been speaking Garlard so far, the language of interstellar trade and commerce, a language many races learn back when the galaxy is at peace. You use communication between different species. He looked at me with his slid Harbinger eyes. Don't waste that snake speak on me. If you're one of us, you'll be able to speak Garlard. Was this another trap? Could a Taxon controller speak Garlard? It was impossible. Their strange mouths. I didn't know. I had no experience speaking with sounds. Even though I could still translate shit in my head, I couldn't interfere with my Taxon brain. What could I do? He laughed. So you want to resist me? Good. I need the entertainment. It's very dull being in charge of security for this sector. I suppose you're one of the rebels. One of those mountain Taxons refused to join the Empire. Well, we'll get to know the truth quickly enough. Mountain Taxons, rebels, so surprised momentarily forgot to be terrified. There are still Taxons resisting the Yeerks. That'd be huge news, my people. We'd assume they all accept the Yeerk rule and change their promises of fresh, unusual meats. The tiny train car is riding 100 feet off a dismal plain now, just getting beyond the outskirts of the spaceport. For the window, I can actually see a cradled Skritna ship as we zoom past. I hope Alan and Oberon made it there. I hope they would complete the mission, because it didn't look as if I would be there to help. Then suddenly a train car veered sharply left and I saw a mound, almost a small mountain. It's only 200 or 300 feet high, nothing but a slack heap of dirt excavated from the construction of ship cradles, really, but it's seated. There are holes everywhere, holes the size of a Taxon. They're crawling in and out. Their pulsating worm bodies will slither and wallow in the mound. Others will emerge, seeming to almost blink with their foul red mouths. Rebels are just fresh meat, said Colleen, but being a Taxon, you understand. Any rebels we catch go to feed loyal Taxons. It's sad, really, but I have no choice. One of those idiotic regulations I have to deal with. It's all part of our deal with the Taxons. Any suspect turned over to loyal ones for interrogation. And of course, they don't really interrogate. They don't have the patience. They ask one or two questions and then, well, it's dinner time. I must have queried in terror, and he grinned a Harbinger grin. Of course, you could tell me why you're here and what your mission really is, Andalite. You'll still be executed, of course, but I can make it painless. Much better than being eaten alive. He did know. He'd been toying with me. He knew as an Andalite, but I sensed he was telling the truth. I could either confess or die the death out of taxing controllers would inflict. That's what I came to. All my hopes being a hero, it all ended here just as quickly. I felt sick down to my bones. How had this all gone so horribly wrong? But I couldn't tell them anything. The Jahar is still in orbit. If I confessed, 2 humans would be taken to the Yerks. Alron and Aldron, who are probably still free, might be caught too. And there was a time matrix. It said I noticed a written on a ship just a mile from where we stood, and that mean the end of all Andalites. I couldn't talk. I couldn't. The sub-visitor leaned in closer. He actually whispered, "There is one more possibility. This Harbinger body I use is fine, but there are millions of Harbinger controllers now, and what are my other choices? Go back to being a Ged? Take a Taxon body? No thanks. I won't live with that hunger." The train plunged into a Taxon hive, and darkness descended. In darkness, my Taxon eyes actually worked better. His Harbinger face was shattered, sparkling tiny images in my eyes, and hear his heart beating faster. There is one other possibility, Andalites. There has never been an Andalite controller. No one starts succeeding in capturing Andal alive. Your warriors use that nasty tailblade themselves rather than be taken alive. He grinned. And that's such a waste, really. See, I want to be the first to have an Andalite body, and with that, the morphing power, I won't remain a sub-visitor for long. I'll be a full visitor. Andalite controller? He wanted to take over an Andalite body, felt a wave of revulsion and seemed to grow out some deep insights that would caught a glimpse of the future. I wasn't a mystic, I was in the military, but I still felt a weird settling sensation. So they do have mystics, apparently. Maybe they don't think of them very seriously, but hey, they have them. Anyway. I looked over to Sub-Visitor and I looked at his greedy, murderous eyes, as if I could see him clear as if the veil of time had been lifted. And I knew then I wouldn't die. Not yet. I knew it deep in my heart, because I knew as the Nissim creature, this Yerk was looking at a true, personal enemy. Let me into that Andalite body. You'll live. It's the only way you'll live. My name is Elfangor, Yerk, I said. Remember that name. You'll be hearing it again, but you'll never take me alive. A pity, he sneered. Stop the car, yelled the Harbinger. Open the door. The maglev train stopped smiling, the door opened. We were tracked deep inside the Taxon hive, and there was a large open cavern around, so the hive was hollow at its core. And down below, perhaps 20 feet down, was a seething mass of Taxons. See them? Taxons, not Yerks. Those are them in their natural state, unimproved, you might say, a savage and bloodthirsty creature in this galaxy. The Taxons spotted us above them and raised their eternally hungry red mouths agape. They knew what was going to happen next. Harbinger surrounded me. I wanted to fight, but I had no weapons. There was nothing I could do. Throw him out, the sub-visitor said. The Harbinger rushed at me. They pulled my sagging, flaccid flesh. I scoured desperately. My rows of cold legs was useless. They rolled and shoved and slid me helpless to the floor. And then, I was falling. Chapter 16. Falling. Demorph, I screamed to myself. You know, I was falling as Demorph. I was going to die. I'd die an Andalite, not some disgusting, cannibalistic worm. Poof! I hit the ground and hit it hard. The size of my Taxon body just split open from the impact, and flashier Taxons were on me. Demorph, I couldn't possibly morph fast enough. The red Taxon mouth drew up close and rose up high, plunging straight down on my shattered flesh. The pain of the fall had been dulled by sheer shock, but this pain I felt. I'd never known anything as terrible. In my darkest nightmare, I never even imagined. I screamed, but as loudly I screamed, Demorph! It was a race to see whether I could die before I could demorph. Again and again they ripped at me, and now my Taxon flesh was shrinking away. It was changing, going from strange new meat. It all depended on how the morph happened. My head emerged, or simply rip it off. But I didn't need my head. I didn't need my legs. I needed my tail. If any Andalite history needed his tail, I needed mine right now. The pain was unbearable. I was delirious. I don't think even focus to track what was happening. It wasn't going to work. I'd been wrong to hope, wrong to imagine I'd even survive. But then I felt some distant part of me move, and I sensed a shudder pass through the ravenous Taxons. Well, then my Taxon eyes saw it appear all the way back in the end of my body. A bright blade, my tail. I slashed and missed, but made them back away. And while they reconsidered, my legs grew long and strong. Last, my bleeding worm body shrinking hard, and I heard bones growing inside me. And I could see again. The Taxons came at me rushing bold with hunger, but now the situation had changed. I aimed and slashed, aimed and slashed, aimed and slashed. Come on, you filthy worms. Come on. Come on. And suddenly even the Taxons decided they didn't want to eat me, and suddenly the ones who were cut upon were set upon to rest. Although my saga saw Sub-Visitor's Harbinger warriors looking down and laughing. The cold voice of Sub-Visitor said, kill him, shoot the Andalite scum. The Harbinger warriors raced a weapon inside me. Draco beam singed the air above me and melted the dirt at my feet. I could not run them, I had to hide, but hide where? Oh, I dove back and attacked some fiend frenzy. Their sluggish, sloppy bodies pressed all around me. It was sickening, but I had cover. Go in after me, order, cut into pieces. 6 huge Harbinger laid down from a train track. There's no one could beat 6 Harbinger warriors. I was exhausted on the edge of collapse. But there's one last desperate hope. The Capet bird. Once you do a morph, the DNA stays with you, and once you morph a creature, you can morph it again. And I needed wings as much as I needed my tail. I skirmished the huge worms, keeping away from their mouths, stopping them up they wanted to fight an Andalite right then. Now attacks and flesh pressing all around me, smothering at the same time hiding me from the Harbinger. I morphed again. I shrank. I grew smaller and smaller. Back, you Taxon, Horgan Clatch! The Harbinger yelled and mixed a Galar and the Harbinger language. I was taxing him to pull away, driven back by slashing wrists and elbows. I was in the open. Their sting over was looking right down me. Had to finish morphing. No time to worry. Either fly, or I would die. Open my hope would be 6 pairs of crafted wings. I spread them wide and flapped hard, and I flew. All off the ground, up on the dirt, I flew. I flew inches above the Harbinger, flew over their subvisors, now screaming in rage, shoot it! Shoot it! But the Texans may be hidden while the Harbinger protested. I don't really care! Shoot it! Kill it! Shoot! But it was too late. I was in the air and I raced as fast as my wings could take me back toward a sinking tunnel and toward daylight. I saw a brown-gray light ahead. I flew toward where my life depended on it. I exploded from the tunnel out in the open. Outraged cries of Sub-Visitor ringing my ears. I made it, I cried, knowing myself. I made it. I'm alive. I flew at the Capet bird's top speed back toward a spaceport. Somewhere back there was Alron and Albron. Somewhere back there a time matrix was waiting to be discovered. There was still mission hope of returning safe and alive, and there was life. Life never feels so sweet when you come right up against death. Then I saw it descending the last few feet in a large ship cradle, like any other ship in a craft in a trade spaceport, like anything any Yerk had ever designed or built. The Jahar was landing. It was impossible. It was known to board but 2 humans. How could it be landing? Why was it landing? I soared as high as I could. All the Yerks of all shapes and sizes were rushing to meet the amazing ship. They clustered around me with weapons drawn. Looking back, I saw a maglev train come tearing top speed from the Taxon Mound. I knew a Sub-Visitor 7 was on that train. It took several minutes for the docking class to be fitted to the alien craft, and more minutes the Yerks trained every weapon they had in a small ship. The maglev train arrived, slamming perilously into 2 slow-moving Geds. Now steps Sub-Visitor 7. He had only 4 of his original 6 hack Harbinger with him. I guess they had 2 had paid the price for failing. The hatch on the Jahar appeared. It opened and out stepped a creature New York had never seen before. And he walked on 2 legs and held his hands and said, hey, relax, you can put down the weapons. I'm here to fight, I'm here to trade. Chapman. He realized the Yerks didn't understand him, so his hands pretended to be handing him something or receiving something from them. Sub-Visitor 7 rushed right over to meet the alien and laughed cynically. It wants to trade. This strange creature wants to trade. What do you have to trade, alien? They understood the word the Yerk said, but yet they understood each other perfectly. Chapman kept his hands raised and made a human smile, and slowly stepped back out of the shroud interior of the ship. He appeared shoving someone before him. It was Lauren. She was bound with wire. Chapman pushed her viciously, fell to the ground for Sub-Visitor 7. That's why I have to trade, he said. A whole planet full of that. Well then. Sold out his whole planet, damn. Alron's Choice, Chapter 17. It was an impossible situation. I was alone on an alien planet, scared, sick at hearts, and overwhelmed. I flew high over the scene, flying my 6 pairs of wings. I was in morph, a 4-legged, 2-armed Andalite transformed into a 12-winged Capet bird. Below me is a horizon rising expanse to the spaceport attacks on homeworld, huge, weirdly-shaped metal cradle, nestled a stunning array of spacecraft, craft in every corner of the ever-spanning Yerk Empire, transports and fires, even the vast Yerk pool ship, seemed like a bloated 3-legged spider. Half a mile to my left was written out transport chased to the Taxon world, and sight unknown to Yerk's the time matrix. Also, nobody's got the same name, but if I recall, he's not the same guy who's a vice principal, the timeline doesn't work out. Huh. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, given he has the same name, I think it's implied it's supposed to be the same guy, but we'll see, we'll see. You are right, though, that doesn't match with his characterization in the second book, if I recall. Like, because he tried to fight back into Yerk to preserve his daughter and everything, he didn't want her getting taken and stuff, and I mean, well, who knows, I mean, you know, having a kid might change a person, you know, suddenly have someone else to care for besides themselves. That could definitely change someone, make them more compassionate, perhaps. But anyway. Half a mile to my right was a Yerk transport ship we'd seized in orbit. It was loaded to the brim with Yerks in their natural slug-like bodies, big round tubs of Yerk slubs. Yerks who I'd saved an hour and ordered them destroyed. And right below me was a Jahar. She was like a work of art stuck in a junk pile. She glowed beautiful amidst the clumsy Yerk vessels, and there stepping front was 2 odd creatures called humans. The one Chapman showed a helpless bound Lauren. She fell before a fleet of Sub-Visitor 7, the Yerk in charge of security, the Sub-Visitor Harbinger command controller. That's why I have to trade, Chapman said, a whole planet full of that. 100 Yerks in different forms, huge glistening were my task controllers, dangerous blade harbinger controllers, clumsy get controllers stood watching with bated breath. Where was Arbron, my fellow Arnish? Where was War Prince Alron? Last seen when they were in Taxon Morph, but to our left were saying when Morph had passed already. I can hope they demorphed at some point. Alron should be dealing with all this and barely no one. He was the War Prince. He'd been in wars for. He had fought Harbinger War, but I didn't know anything. I was a nobody. Okay, Elfenor, calm down and think. But how can I be calm? Yerks was seizing Laura and roughly hustling her away. Chapman was trying to communicate with the Sub-Visitor 7. It hit me. Chapman knew. He knew about the time measures. He found a way to tell them we'd all be done for. Okay, I had to do something. Something. But what? What can I do? This is madness. The entire fate of my people rests on me? On me? Priorities? Okay, what's important? Rescuing Lauren. No, that was absurd. The time matrix, everything came down to that. Was he going to tell him? No. That was his biggest bargaining chip. This human was like a Skritna, self-serving, greedy, and very odd. The Skritna made two races, looked like a huge insect, somewhat less intelligent, but the Skrit each eventually wielded a cocoon a year later pounced on a Na. The Na stands with four slender legs, had heads shaped like Andalites, but only possessed two eyes. All they care about is owning, possessing things. I've seen the human Chapman was the very same way, so I truly believed he would not give up the time matrix yet. I had time, but not much. The Sub-Visitor we kept busy with Chapman to talk about Earth. Like any Yerk, Sub-Visitor would be fascinated with possibly an entire planet full of sentient creatures for the Yerk Empire to enslave. Think, Elfengor. Think. I couldn't count on finding Alron or Albron, but they were still alive in 3, they reached the same conclusion. I'd go to the ship and its cargo, the Time Matrix. I turned again and flapped my many wings ahead toward the Skritna's ship. Below us, a Harbinger grabbed Lauren and pulled her to her feet. They yanked her up like golden hair, and the human cried out pain floated up to me. Priorities, Elfengor. Lauren, it's me, Elfengor, called out first. I thought speaking to her alone. I saw her jerking her head around one way humans do to see behind them. Don't move, don't make them mad. Don't worry, I'm using private thought speaking, no one else can hear. Tell them whatever they want to know. Don't resist. Just one thing, don't mention a time meter. They get that, it's all over. You have to trust me. I will save you. Of course, she couldn't answer. Humans don't have thought speak. Like most people make sounds to communicate. I only hope she would actually trust me. Right, she should trust me. Why would I trust some alien who landed me in this mess? I can only hope. She had to keep quiet about the time matrix. I knew Chapman would. I flew hard for a Skritna's ship. At least I had a goal. That helped a little, and I just wouldn't think about the insanity of it all. I just put it all out of my head. The Skritna's ship was being fussed over by Ged controllers. Geds are clumsy and loping creatures. They're the first species of Yerks infested. Only lower-ranking Yerks are stuck in those bodies. Their controllers seemed to be busy checking the ship for hull damage. I had to get aboard and I had to fly off the planet. No problem, Elfengor, just steal a ship in the middle of a Yerk transport and fly without getting zapped. No big deal. I landed beneath the ship's cradle. It was dark and filthy down there. Endless debris and trash been shoved in over the years. They apparently even emptied the ship's sewage reprocessing plants there. The smell is overwhelming. I demorphed amid frozen remnants of sewage from a dozen species. Not pleasant, but it was a good feeling to get my Andalite body back. I cowered beneath the massive support pillars. I watched her legs grow from 4 of the craft at its wings. 2 other wings became my hands. My sleek bird head became large and spread out my twin stalk eyes, while the bird's own 2 eyes became my main ones. The remaining wings shriveled and disappeared as my long, wispy bird tail became a powerful, swift Andalite tail. I was pleased I had my tail back. A bird's body can be pretty helpless. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay in this form. Andalite walking around, surrounded by nothing but various species of Yerks, would just be obvious. A little slightly obvious, as if I'd been dead 10 seconds after walking out of the shadows. There's only one thing I had to do. I had to resume my taxomorph I had acquired. That DNA was still part of me, and it always would be. I saw my fear and loathing and began to morph. As I felt my huge worm body grow up out of screaming, desperate attacks and hunger rise, I tried to form a plan to save my world, my friends, and Lauren all at once. I was halfway in a ship and I heard a shuffling, slithering sound of attacks, and my stalk eyes already morphed halfway. And when I still had my main eyes, I turned to look. It just doesn't feel away, it must have been lurking in darkness. It only had to scream for help and I'd be taxed lunch. My surprise had spoken in like thought speak. Elfengor, is that you? Oberon, I cried. I cried full of relief. I wouldn't be alone. I had him with me. We weren't exactly been close, but at least been more on my own. Yes, it's me, he said. What happened to you? I lost you and Alron in a terrible feeding frenzy. He said nothing. His silence drew a chill from my half-morph body. I guess we got separated. So, we gonna rescue this time matrix thing or what? Hero time, huh? Thank you, Algie. Yeah, hero time, I agree, but there's something wrong. Something was very wrong. I could feel it. Where's Elron, I asked. I don't know, I lost him in a crowd. Just you and me, I guess. Come on, let's do it. Let's save the world, huh? Just what you planned, eh, Elfengor? Elfengor the hero? He seemed to alternate between flat and emotionless and sudden bursts of manic energy. Maybe it was the strain, the fear, the vile creepiness of inhabiting a Taxon form. That'd be it. Nothing to worry about. Distress. If I end up being a hero, you'll be one too. Besides, see if we survive this first. Yeah. Survive, said flat and emotionless. Come on, Elfengor, finish morphing.